Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Masks Off for People Pleasers and Perfectionists. I'm Kim Gross, your host. And today, what I want to talk about, or who I want to talk specifically to, is the overachiever. And what I want to do is offer a guide to self compassion for you, the overachiever, and to say that I give you permission to incorporate rest into your life. I know you're thinking, okay, Kim, I do not have any time whatsoever to just rest, to be and do nothing. Are you crazy? I have so many things to do. I have to take care of the kids. I have to cook. I have to take care of the house and grocery shop, and I have to get my work done and do my purpose work. I have to work out. I have to eat well. I have to take care of my mom, my dad. I have friends to see. They're asking me where I've been. How can I possibly just rest? I hear you. I know exactly what you're saying. And just as recently as a couple months ago, I fell back into the pattern of overachieving and I couldn't allow myself to rest. And I was actually in crisis mode with my health condition. As some of you may already know, I have an autoimmune disease. I've had it for 20 years. It's called Sjogren's syndrome, very similar to lupus or MS. From maybe December until a couple months ago, I was at this pivotal point where I needed to give myself rest. I was having a major flare up, not feeling well at all. I had lots going on. And I want to share with you some of the things I said in my journal. Listen carefully and ask yourself, do you have these thoughts? Do you say these things to yourself? Do you have these beliefs? Do you have these feelings? Have you had them for decades and you just can't seem to let go of thinking or being in this overachieving, perfectionistic behavior tendency? Here is some of the things that I wrote and fell back into just a couple of months ago. Saying just a couple months ago is important because I want you to understand that it does not matter how long you have been doing the inner work or the healing work, that there will still be times when you can fall back into an old pattern. This is just the nature of recovery. And we will be taking two steps forward, one step back, probably for the rest of our lives. But each time you take a step back or circle back to an old pattern, you will recognize it more quickly. You will not stay there as long. You'll know what to do. You'll have the tools to reframe more quickly, and it won't be as difficult or as much of a stronghold as it may have been in years past. So, without further ado, here are some of the things that I said when I took a step backwards. So, just a little bit of background to set up the scenario. I had just started working with a functional medicine doctor. I was desperate to feel better. The protocol that he wanted me to be on, in terms of the foods I eat and supplements I take, was very different from the way I used to eat. And I have never taken supplements. I just, for personal reasons and choices, just never wanted to be a supplement person. And it was really hard for me. This protocol was very different from what I was used to. And so here's what I wrote. I have been expecting perfection with this food protocol. I'm not doing everything perfectly all at once, the way the doctor wants me to. I won't mention his name. Another awareness is that I've been hard on myself because I haven't been consistent with my workouts. And I have a high expectation of myself that I should be in a powerful state and not a primal state. I shared this on a previous episode where I was sharing how David Bear, another podcaster, YouTuber, coach, mindset hack person, talks about primal state versus powerful state. And I just love the way he teaches it. I love how he explained it. I use that reference a lot. Powerful state is feeling free, feeling joy, peace, calm, flow, alignment. You get the point. Primal state is feeling tired, exhausted, fearful, anxious, depressed, nervous, overwhelmed, burned out, controlling. So you get the idea of the difference. During this time, when I was not feeling well and starting a brand new protocol that was really hard and strict, I was having this expectation that I should be doing more workouts. I wasn't able to work out in the way that I wanted to. I just didn't have the energy. I was exhausted. And then I had this other high expectation that I should be on the mountaintop, being in a powerful state and not being in this primal state. Like, what is wrong with you, Kim? This was the underlying message that I was giving to myself. This is what my inner dialogue sounded like. I was also holding an expectation that I should be doing more with my purpose work. I should be doing more to promote my book that just came out in October, and I wasn't doing enough there. Promote or grow my business. It was relentless, the number of shoulds that I had, and feeling like I wasn't enough. Every time I had the thought or the belief that I should be doing something other than what I was doing, there was a feeling of I'm not enough. And that's a very old wound, a wound or a belief system that probably almost every perfectionist has. Underlying perfectionism is a belief in oneself that he or she is not enough. And not only that, but you make yourself wrong. So when I was trying to do this protocol and I couldn't do it all 100% all at once, I made myself wrong. I made myself bad because as a little girl, when I didn't do things the right way, according to who, I don't know, but the right way, I felt such shame around that. So I felt I was bad. I was a bad girl. And so when we're always pushing and striving for more, or we're trying to prove, being in this proving energy, I had to prove myself. When we're in those states of being, that's being in a primal state. And when we're in those states, we inevitably will fall into trying to control. We're trying to control an outcome. Same thing. If you're trying to overachieve, there's some type of outcome. You want someone or even yourself to think or feel a certain way about you. So you try to achieve more and more because you're trying to control how you feel about yourself and how you're being perceived by others. This state, when your inner controller is freaking like going wild and driving the bus, you inevitably will have a life that is unmanageable. You're living out a pattern and you're not living out a life. So, what else? I made myself wrong for it. I'll share some other things that I wrote here. My inner controller was taking over, and then I started to try to fix. I was in a state of worry. And this is what I do whenever my body is in pain or isn't feeling well. I get scared. And then rather than soothing my nervous system and going to what's really going on for me, I go into my head and I go into fight or flight. And I try to control. I try to fix, I try to control. And so, again, David Bear, who I mentioned, talked about personal growth. If we want to have a 2.0 version of ourselves, we have to come more from a place of spiritual growth, he says, and healing our bodies through more emotional regulation. He uses an example of being able to put hand on heart.
Hey, it's Kim here, interrupting your regularly scheduled podcast episode to let you know about an opportunity to go deeper into this work. I invite you to head over to Amazon.com and pick up your copy of my book, Free to Be: A Pathway to Inner Liberation. If you are looking to unhook from people pleasing and perfectionistic patterns, if you're looking to have a better way of identifying your patterns and then how you can unhook so you can be free to step outside your comfort zone, free to have more meaningful relationships in your life, free to be your true self without hiding behind a mask any longer. If you desire any of this, then I encourage you to pick up your copy. And if you enjoy my book as much as I loved writing it, please go on over and leave a review on Amazon. You can leave a star review or written review. Now back to your regularly scheduled podcast episode.
Another thing, going back to the food protocol, was really hard for me in the beginning, was just try to push through. I just kept trying to push through instead of recognizing that it was hard. It still is hard for me. I'm still on it and it is still hard. Rather than recognizing that and having compassion for myself and allowing myself to have more rest during the day, I just kept on pushing through. Come on, Kim, you can do this. What's wrong with you? I was really hard on myself. And that's what we tend to do. So, what is the antidote? How do we cultivate a guide to having more self compassion? How do we give ourselves grace and space to rest, to be? Well, number one, it's a practice. If you want to have a six-pack ab, you don't go to the gym once or twice or even three times in order to get it. If you're trying to lose weight, you don't just do it in a week. It takes time and it takes practice, and you cultivate it. And the same thing is required to have self-compassion for yourself, because we have been stuck in these patterns of overachieving for a long time. So to unravel that, to unmask from that, we're going to have to practice self-compassion. One of the things that I did during this time, once I was able to pause and own that I was stuck in a pattern again, who was going to fix it for me or change it for me was me. No one out there could make me feel better. No one out there was going to stop me from this overachieving mindset. I was the one who had to give myself permission to be a human being, to rest, and to take it easy for a little bit. Again, it's like you have to take that step backward sometimes and just allow yourself to recover, allow yourself to rest and get your strength, your energy back in order to be able to then move forward in an even more productive or healthy way. If you just keep pushing through when you're depleted and you have no energy and you're burned out at the amount of things that you have going on, and you do this day after day, week after week, year after year for decades, you're going to end up having some chronic disease. You're just going to not have a very fulfilling life, most likely. Maybe some people can have that pushing energy and do it for a lifetime, but I do believe it will always catch up. Furthermore, I believe that if we live our lives in that way, we're going to end up having a deathbed regret that when we get to the end of our lives and look back and say, geez, why did I push so hard? Who did I have to prove myself to? Why did I allow myself to become so overwhelmed, so burned out, so stressed out because I was just trying to achieve and prove that I'm enough? Who am I trying to prove that to? So that's one thing that you can do as far as an antidote. Practice self compassion. It might be challenging for you at first because you're going to really resist allowing yourself time to just be, to just rest. I know when I first started a couple months ago, I allowed myself to have a sweetness week where I was just trying to be super sweet with myself. And I compared it to when one of my two kids were sick when they were little. They laid on the couch, watched TV. I took care of them, brought them healthy foods. I sat by their side and nurtured them while they were sick until they felt better. Now, if you're not like super sick, like a flu or something like that, or even in a flare up the way that I was, I'm not suggesting that you take a full week off from work and just lay on the couch. Although, if you have the ability to do, it might be helpful for you. But if you can just implement small mini breaks throughout your day where you're super sweet with yourself. So, what I did was put myself in nature more because when I'm in nature, I feel soothed, calm, peaceful. I feel one with the universe. And that nurtures my spirit, my soul. And then I gave myself permission. I gave myself a break. Okay, so what if you're not working out as many times a week as before? If you only can walk for 20 minutes a day, whatever you can do is enough right now. I was trying to be really compassionate with myself, really sweet. And then some of the other things that I did was nature, giving myself permission, saying first things first, or how important is it? Checking in with the things that I felt the pressure that I had to do or get done. I would say to myself, how important is it that I do this thing right now? Can I hold off on it? Can it wait until I feel better? So it's these different mindset shifts that I did, as well as being in nature, and then actually started a practice again a couple months ago. This all happened where I started to carve out 20 minutes where I just sat and did nothing. I wasn't trying to do a guided meditation. I wasn't journaling. I just sat and just did nothing. And can I just tell you how hard that was to do? It was so hard to just sit there and do absolutely nothing. My mind would go bonkers. Every time my thoughts started going astray, I would bring them back. Eventually, I would just focus on the water outside or the trees, watching the trees blow in the wind or the sky, the clouds. And eventually, it got a little bit easier. As I did all of these things and really started to take care of myself in a better way, here I am a couple months later, and I'm feeling so much better. I feel stronger. Now, there's probably other things that are at play as well because I'm eating better foods, but I do believe that a big part of it was having compassion for myself and allowing myself to rest and not making myself wrong for it. We're entitled to have some rest. We need to have rest. The benefit of being able to live in this way is that you can start to feel more joy, more freedom. That's what this is all about, having more freedom in our lives to quiet down our inner controller. And not feeling like we have to be in control as much as we tend to do. So the other piece of it is if you're feeling like your worth is tied to how much you achieve, as you start to do this work, you will recognize that you are worthy. You are valuable no matter how much you achieve, that your achievements do not define who you are. You're worthy just because you were born. And when that really sets in, when that sinks in, and you have an unshakable, unwavering belief or knowing that you are worthy just because you were born, and that the energy that is you is the same energy that is in the universe, that makes up the ocean, the sky, the plants, the grass, the animals, it's all one. And when you know that, you will be free to be your true self. And that is a pathway to inner liberation, AKA my book, the title of the book. If you're wanting to go deeper in some of the things that I just talked about in this episode, then I invite you to go on over to Amazon and get your copy of my book, because I do take these thoughts, these ideas, and I go deeper and I share with you even more how I use my 5-step power pathway to do the healing work that I've done to get to a place of having more freedom and knowing that it is absolutely within my birthright and yours to be your true self. You can go to my website as well, kimgrosscoaching.com. And on my website, you'll see where you can get the book. You can also see the framework for my 5-step power pathway. If you're curious as to how to use that 5-step power pathway and you want to understand it more fully, you can book a call with me on my website or reach out via email at kim@kimgrosscoaching.com. I really hope that this episode was valuable for you. My hope, my desire is to share my wisdom, share my experience, share my strength, and my hope that there is a way to live life with more freedom. There is a way to live your life so that you do not feel like you have to overachieve or prove yourself. You can take off the mask of perfectionism, people pleasing, overachieving, controlling. You can heal from all those patterns, because that's what the masks are. When I talk about masks off, I'm talking about unhooking from the patterns that have kept you stuck in a mental prison for most of your life. And if you want to be free and have paradise, and you want to learn how to take off your masks, unhook from these patterns so you can live a life instead of living out patterns, then I am your person. I am here for you. I will see you next time on Masks Off for People Pleasers and Perfectionists. I hope that you all have a great week.